The LPGA Tour had Caitlin Clark play, and the LPGA liked the fans' response. The event was taken over by an ominous crowd that seemed angry at everything Caitlin Clark did and made it out that she was the problem, not the solution. The LPGA sparked a storm, and it's one that has the WNBA fuming. Recently, the LPGA invited Caitlin Clark, one of the brightest young stars in women's basketball, to take part in a special event. The result? A massive crowd, excitement levels through the roof, and a fresh wave of fans embracing women's golf. The LPGA clearly valued Caitlin Clark's presence, knowing exactly what she brought to the event. They openly celebrated her, understanding the incredible value she brings. But here's the twist. While the golf world welcomed her, the WNBA's reaction has been anything but warm. Why would the WNBA feel threatened by Clark's popularity? Could this be jealousy or something deeper? This story dives into the heart of a rivalry that's about to change everything in women's sports. Throughout the event, it was clear how important it was to bring in new fans to golf, especially women's golf. The LPGA's decision to include Caitlin Clark was a game changer. Fans of all ages and backgrounds showed up, not only to watch golf, but to catch a glimpse of Clark herself. Her popularity is undeniable. She's brought an influx of new fans to women's sports, and the LPGA welcomed her with open arms, recognizing that she's not just a star, but a beacon drawing fresh eyes to their sport. The LPGA celebrated her, recognizing that she was not just a basketball player, but a magnet for young audiences, many of whom may never have considered women's golf before. However, this warm welcome stirred up frustration from within the WNBA. Some voices in the WNBA view her as a rival for attention. Despite the potential boost she could bring, there's a sentiment within the league that she's pulling focus away from its established stars. Some WNBA players and league supporters argued that the attention around Clark detracts from the progress they fought hard to achieve. But if women's sports are to grow, wouldn't it make sense to welcome someone like Caitlin who brings new fans along with her? If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. The WNBA's reaction, contrasting sharply with the LPGA's, begs the question, is this resistance about protecting their stars, or are they missing the bigger picture? What makes this situation even more intriguing is how LPGA players and fans responded. The atmosphere at the event was electric. The crowd felt like it was witnessing something historic, not just a regular golf tournament. People showed up early, eager to see Clark in action, and stayed long after the event, engaging with players and soaking in the excitement. This wasn't just a one-time boost. It's a sign of a growing interest that could elevate women's sports across the board. LPGA stars like Nelly Korda openly praised Clark, calling her a breath of fresh air and acknowledging how great it was to see a new crowd. They saw Caitlin not as a threat but as an ally, someone who could bring energy and enthusiasm to the game. The LPGA recognized that expanding their fan base would benefit everyone and didn't hesitate to seize the moment. In contrast, the WNBA has been more defensive about Clark's popularity. There's a sense that Caitlin represents a shift that threatens the traditional dynamics of the league. Instead of focusing on the possibilities of cross-promotion or how her popularity could boost the league's visibility, some within the WNBA view her fan base as an intrusion. This mindset, however, could be holding the league back at a crucial moment. Sports are evolving, and leagues that don't adapt risk being left behind. The LPGA seems to understand that change is essential for growth, while the WNBA appears cautious, perhaps overly protective of its identity. By turning a cold shoulder to Clark's popularity, is the WNBA missing out on something that could benefit not only their league, but the broader landscape of women's sports? The WNBA's reluctance to fully embrace Clark reveals a different approach. Rather than celebrating her ability to unite fans across sports, some in the league view her popularity as a distraction. It's as if they're protecting an exclusive club rather than an inclusive platform for all women's sports fans. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. This approach, in stark contrast to the LPGA's open arms, may hinder the WNBA's growth in the long run. Fans today are looking for dynamic stories, personalities, and connections between leagues. By shutting out someone like Caitlin, the WNBA risks appearing out of touch with what the modern sports audience wants. In trying to keep their focus narrow, they might be losing the chance to build a wider, more engaged fan base. What makes Caitlin Clark's popularity so compelling is her authentic love for all sports. She's publicly shown support for women athletes across disciplines, emphasizing the importance of unity and shared success. Clark has repeatedly expressed her respect for leagues like the WNBA and her enthusiasm for promoting women's sports as a whole. Imagine if the WNBA had harnessed this passion instead of brushing it aside. Clark's influence could have brought new fans, increased ticket sales, and given the league a boost in visibility. But instead, the league's response has been cautious, bordering on dismissive. This could be a major missed opportunity for the WNBA, one they might come to regret. Instead of welcoming Clark as an ally, they've unintentionally created tension that's now becoming public, which might alienate the very fans they're trying to attract. The difference in approach between the LPGA and WNBA is a clear lesson in adaptability. The LPGA saw Caitlin Clark's appearance as a moment to grow, bringing in fresh audiences and capitalizing on a unique opportunity. They understood that women's sports, traditionally lower in viewership, benefit greatly from cross-league support and unity. The LPGA isn't concerned about where the fans are coming from. They're thrilled that more people are interested in their sport. By working alongside stars like Clark, they're setting themselves up to attract and retain those fans long-term. In contrast, the WNBA's stance suggests that they view Clark's popularity as a threat rather than an asset. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. Instead of capitalizing on her cross-sport appeal, they seem focused on maintaining a status quo that may not serve them well in the evolving sports landscape. The LPGA's experience with Caitlin Clark should serve as a blueprint for other leagues on how to adapt to changing times. While the WNBA's protective stance may feel justified to those within the league, it risks alienating fans and stalling growth. They may find themselves struggling to compete in an increasingly interconnected sports world. Fans want to see collaboration, energy, and unity, especially in women's sports, where the challenges are shared across leagues. The LPGA's success in embracing Clark shows that growth and openness go hand in hand, and it's a model that could benefit all of women's sports if more leagues were willing to follow it. As Caitlin Clark's influence continues to grow, the divide between how the LPGA and WNBA handle her popularity will likely become more apparent. The LPGA's embrace of Clark could lead to a broader trend of collaboration between women's sports leagues, an approach that could elevate all of them. Meanwhile, the WNBA's hesitation may ultimately limit its own reach. By not seizing the opportunity to work with a star like Clark, they're potentially leaving valuable fans and resources on the table. This isn't just about one player or one league. It's about the future of women's sports as a unified force. And if the WNBA doesn't adjust, it may find itself watching as other leagues benefit from the star power they chose to ignore. The response to Caitlin Clark's rise in popularity has exposed an underlying divide between women's sports leagues. While the LPGA's approach demonstrates adaptability and vision, the WNBA's reaction suggests a more protective, almost defensive stance. It's surprising to see this kind of friction, especially in an era when women's sports could benefit enormously from unity and shared promotion. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. Caitlin Clark has shown that she's not just a fan favorite, but a true advocate for all women athletes. Her genuine love for women's sports, her magnetic personality, and her ability to draw crowds represent an incredible asset, not only to basketball, but to every sport she touches. Imagine if the WNBA had taken a cue from the LPGA and publicly celebrated Clark's success. What if they saw her as a bridge to connect new audiences to their games? The potential for crossover appeal between sports fans who follow basketball, golf, and beyond could be huge. And it's not just about Caitlin's fan base. It's about the wider impact she can have by inspiring young girls to engage with women's sports across the board. The WNBA could have embraced this moment, positioning themselves alongside Clark's story and using her influence to boost their league's visibility. Instead, they have created an image of exclusivity that may ultimately backfire, leaving fans and players wondering why the league isn't more welcoming. In today's sports world, fans are hungry for stories and stars they can connect with. Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete, she's a personality, and that's what draws people in. The LPGA recognized this and used her appeal to create an event that felt vibrant and fresh. The crowds that showed up to see her weren't just there for golf. They were there for the story, the excitement, and the chance to be part of something new. This is where the LPGA showed real insight. They weren't focused on keeping things pure or exclusive to golf. They were focused on growing the sport, and they saw Clark as the perfect person to help them do that. The question now is, why hasn't the WNBA adopted a similar mindset? What's even more interesting is how fans have responded to the WNBA's reluctance to embrace Clark. Many fans are vocal about their support for Clark, regardless of the sport she's involved in. They want to see her succeed and are eager to follow her journey, whether it's on the basketball court or a golf course. By not fully embracing her, the WNBA risks alienating not only Clark's fans but also their own. The message this sends to young, aspiring athletes could be damaging. Instead of promoting unity and celebrating each other's successes, the WNBA's stance creates division, suggesting that there's no room for collaboration or cross-sport support. The LPGA, on the other hand, seems to understand the value of community and mutual promotion. Their approach highlights a broader understanding of what sports fans today are looking for. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. People want to see athletes who support each other, leagues that work together, and an atmosphere of unity. The LPGA's collaboration with Caitlin Clark sent a message that they're not just open to growth, but actively pursuing it. They aren't afraid of new fans or the attention Clark brings. In fact, they welcome it. This difference in approach shows a level of flexibility that could be crucial for the LPGA's future success. While they capitalize on this moment, the WNBA appears to be stuck in a mindset that may limit its own growth. Unfortunately, the WNBA's response seems rooted in an outdated way of thinking, one that prioritizes exclusivity over expansion. By distancing themselves from Clark, they're missing out on the chance to tap into a much larger audience. Fans of women's sports want to see athletes and leagues supporting each other, breaking down barriers, and working together to bring more attention to women's achievements. The WNBA's reluctance to embrace this spirit of collaboration may ultimately put them at a disadvantage, especially as other leagues, like the LPGA, show that they're willing to adapt to meet fans' desires. The LPGA's embrace of Caitlin Clark could set a precedent for how women's sports leagues interact with each other in the future. Imagine a world where leagues openly promote crossover events, celebrate each other's stars, and recognize the value of shared fan bases. This approach could redefine women's sports, making it more accessible, more popular, and more respected. By working together, leagues can create a bigger, more inclusive world for women's sports. The LPGA's decision to embrace Clark may just be the start of something revolutionary, but if the WNBA doesn't shift its mindset, they risk being left behind as other leagues capitalize on the opportunity to bring in fresh energy and fans. As we watch this story unfold, it's clear that Caitlin Clark's influence is only growing. The LPGA's decision to bring her into their fold was a bold one, and it paid off in ways that will likely benefit them for years to come. Clark is a superstar, and her fans follow her wherever she goes. The LPGA's willingness to welcome her and celebrate her popularity shows a level of foresight that other leagues might want to take note of. They understand that growth isn't about gatekeeping, it's about opening doors, inviting new fans in, and showing the world just how exciting women's sports can be. In contrast, the WNBA's resistance to fully embrace Clark reveals a mindset that could limit their own potential. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. Caitlin Clark represents all of that and more, and any league willing to welcome her influence is likely to see incredible rewards. If this situation has taught us anything, it's that women's sports stand to gain enormously from collaboration, openness, and a willingness to embrace stars who can draw attention to the game. The LPGA's embrace of Clark is a step in the right direction, showing that they're willing to take risks, innovate, and put the growth of women's sports above all else. The WNBA, on the other hand, risks falling behind by clinging to an outdated approach that doesn't align with the modern fans' expectations. Women's sports are on the cusp of a major transformation, and those leagues that adapt will be the ones that thrive. The LPGA's embrace of Caitlin Clark and the WNBA's resistance reveal two very different paths in women's sports. While one league sees opportunity, the other seems to see a threat. As Caitlin Clark's influence grows, the WNBA's reluctance could cost them dearly. What do you think? Is the WNBA making a mistake, or are they justified in their approach? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories on sports, strategy, and culture. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the latest updates in women's sports. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and give a like. Thank you.